Please subscribe to our channel. A war had been declared at the end of the Continental Episode 1, and Winston and Cormac were getting ready to draw first blood. The ancient coin press was still missing, and Cormac knew that if he didn't find it as soon as possible, the High Table would take action against him, and he might end up losing everything. So let's find out what Winston plans to do in the Continental Episode 2 and on whose side the others choose to be in this war. Winston had made it very clear in the previous episode itself that he wanted to wage a war against the manager of the infamous Continental Hotel. Miles, Lou, and even Lemmy told Winston that what he was trying to achieve was not possible because Cormac was no commoner. But Winston was adamant, though he knew that he was putting his life at risk by deciding to go against Cormac. Winston knew that even if he decided to stay quiet, Cormac would come after him, considering he would never believe that none of them knew where the ancient coin press was. Winston had come to know from Miles that Frankie had duped Cormac and nobody knew where that ancient relic was. Winston asked Miles to gather people who could be a part of the army and help him dethrone Cormac. Miles had a few people in mind, though he didn't know if they would risk their lives and go against Cormac. Miles went to an old friend of his father's, Jenkins, and he persuaded him to join the team, mainly because the former knew the kind of intel and resources the old man had. Yen was still not talking to Winston, as she blamed him for the death of her partner. Winston knew that for the success of this mission, it was important that Yen be a part of their battalion. Yen probably had made up her mind that she would not see Winston's face ever again, but something happened that entirely changed her perspective. Cormac's men attacked her secret hideout, and she realized that until they killed this predator, he would not stop hunting them. Yen came on board, and she brought a sort of blueprint of the Continental Hotel, which gave the team a rough idea about the architecture of the place. Winston had given Miles the incentive to take over the entire gun supply business, which, as of now, was being controlled by Cormac. The dojo was not giving them a lot of revenue, and Miles convinced Lou to join the squad, though she had a condition that she wouldn't touch the guns, as it was against the ideals of her father. But Lou, even without a gun, was as lethal as anybody, and Winston was glad that she was on board. Maisie was the Bowery Queen, and she had her own army and a network of spies who hid in plain sight, but, when the time came, were the most lethal assassins. We had seen the Bowery King in the John Wick franchise, and we knew the kind of support and help that the underground army could provide. Winston went to meet Maisie, and he asked her what she would take in return for helping him kill Cormac. Maisie said that she didn't deal with money, but she wanted his love and respect in return. Winston just couldn't understand her, and that's when she went on to explain to him that she despised money, and even after coming from a privileged family, she had left everything and come to live with these homeless people, who everybody thought were of no use. She said that these faceless people didn't have any self-worth, and people didn't even acknowledge their existence. She said that she just had to show them a little bit of humanity, and they were ready to do anything for her. Winston was awestruck at what he saw. This woman was probably equally powerful, if not more, than Cormac, and the kind of system she had created was beyond anyone's imagination. Cormac's men had followed Winston to the Bowery, and even before they reached Maisie's hideout, she came to know about them. On her order, those men were killed in seconds, and Maisie assured Winston that as long as he was there with her, nobody could lay a finger on him. Winston knew that if he had to win the battle against someone like Cormac, then he would need Maisie's support, though he still didn't know what he could offer her in return. Winston knew that he would need an inside man to be on their side if he wanted to win this battle against Cormac. Winston was a very prudent man who knew that the odds were not in his favor and that he needed something that gave him leverage to breach the fortress of the uncrowned emperor. Jenkins had told him that there were two kinds of people inside the Continental, the ones who were evil and the ones who were brainwashed to the extent that they wouldn't do anything against Cormac. Jenkins had set up his station in an apartment near the Continental, and one day from there, Winston saw Sharon and Thomas sitting and talking on the terrace. Winston was told that Sharon had been groomed by Cormac for years and that it was not possible to ask him to betray his master. But Winston saw an opportunity in Sharon, and he decided that he would take his chances and at least make him an offer. Sharon used to get letters from his father, and Winston asked Lou to bring him one of those so that he could learn about the kind of background that man came from. Winston read the letter, abducted Sharon, and brought him to his safe house. Winston opened up to Sharon about his childhood and told him that though Cormac pretended to be a father figure, deep down, he only cared about himself. He told Sharon that Cormac liked being in control of people's lives, as that is what he had done with him and his brother back in the day. Sharon also knew deep down that he could never stop working for the Continental, and he was somewhat trapped there. Winston asked Sharon to just think about his offer with an open mind. He very truthfully told Sharon that though there were risks involved in going against Cormac, if they were able to do so somehow, then they would be free to lead their lives whichever way they wanted without any sort of fear. In the Continental episode 2, Sharon was having a conversation with Thomas, who was going to move to Ireland for further studies in music. Thomas asked Sharon to come with him and see the world and its marvels and not spend his entire life inside the hotel. But Sharon said that he would have to stay at the Continental because Cormac had promised him that if he proved his worth, he would bring his father, who was himself a very accomplished violinist, to the hotel. Sharon said that there was rampant violence in the place he came from, and that's why he felt good staying in the Continental, because there was some sort of order there. He said that his father had spent all his money to send him to New York, and now it was his responsibility to return the favor. During the Continental episode 2's ending, Thomas unfortunately ended up telling Cormac how he had asked Sharon to accompany him to Ireland, and that's where Cormac lost his temper. He took it as disloyalty, and he felt that Thomas was trying to steal Sharon from him. He brutally assaulted Thomas with his golf stick, and the poor boy died on the spot. Sharon came back after meeting Winston, and he saw that whatever Winston had told him was absolutely right. Cormac wanted to govern their lives, and there was no escape from there, even if they wanted to. In a surprising turn of events, Sharon told Cormac that Winston had approached him to be a part of his army, but he had rejected his offer because his allegiance lay with Cormac. Cormac was extremely elated when he heard that, and that's when he told Sharon that he had called for his father to come and work at the Continental, as now they needed a new musician since Thomas was dead. Sharon knows how to play his cards, and we believe that he was bluffing when he said to Cormac that he had rejected Winston's offer. He wanted to win the trust of his boss, but it had become trickier as now his father was also involved in the entire scheme of things. Unknowingly, Cormac had played a master move, and in the upcoming episode, we will get to know how Sharon is able to help Winston and what they end up doing in order to get the better of Cormac. So that's the Continental, from the World of John Wick Season 1 Episode 2 Ending Explained. I hope you like this video. Please leave a comment and subscribe to this channel. See you in another video. Bye.